So we are now live with this race, very excited about that. Vesta Rowing Club A, the rain is pouring down, and it's the women from Vesta who have impressed so much here against the women from Leander Club on the right of your picture, those cerise blades, and they're being warned already, Adrian.
Yeah, coming off the end of the island, just getting pushed across, really getting very close to Vesta. And Vesta Cox, to be fair to her, she's kept her line. She hasn't been intimidated by that and drifted over towards those boards. She's kept her line, and that should help a bit because the rudder coming on affects your boat speed.
Felicity Carroll, the 26-year-old Cox of the Vesta crew. She works as a prosthetist, a clinician that makes and fits limbs to amputees. But Leander have just moved ahead. They are hitting the water, though. It's not easy for them, is it?
No, you look at the water on the booms as we're going along here. There's loads of waves. It's a really lively environment down there. All these pleasure cruisers coming down, plus the wind and the stream and everything. But Vesta here doing a good job to try and stay on terms. I mean, they had a tough race yesterday against their B crew, didn't they? It was 3/4 of length. They were fighting all the way down the course.
Did. You know, fantastic credit to Vesta, their coach, Dave Loveday, of course, with Rob Fellows. And know a lot about Rob. He used to be at Warwick University, coached my daughter Lara Cross there, and an old Hamptonian. And he basically has a high-powered job, but spends his life coaching rowing. Don't know how he does it. But, you know, a lot of the success of Vesta have been down to those coaches.
Yeah, they have. They've got a big program with a lot of athletes. And here Leander seem to be getting to probably that point where they're just about to lose contact and break away from Vesta. Let's see if they can keep their momentum going. Vesta really can't afford. They need to do whatever it takes really to keep that contact and make the pressure build on Leander.
So we're looking at Leander Rowing Club leading Vesta Rowing Club in a heat of the Wargrave Challenge Cup. I'm Martin Cross, and you're listening to me with Adrian Cassidy on this afternoon, this Friday afternoon at Henley. And we are looking at a reverse angle shot, so the blustery conditions look really windy. You can see those flags on the bank, Adrian. Look at them flying around.
Yeah, that's not pleasant to be out there. And look at the people on the launches at the back, how much clothing and hoods they're wearing to try and stay dry. And there, Vesta here being pushed across a little bit, getting themselves a bit closer to Leander. But Leander here, they look really quite physical through the middle of the stroke. They really are, seem to be, there's time in the water, and you can really see how their bodies are opening at the same kind of time, and that's the difference. The Vesta crew are all very uniform moving, but they haven't got that physicality through the middle of the stroke.
Yeah, there's a kind of surge, isn't there, towards the back end of the stroke, Leander, as they open out their hips against their legs.
Yeah, and I think, and when you get that right, it really generates some handle speed. It means the finish is a little bit longer, which means they're in the water for a bit longer, which is like the most important thing. If you see the difference between Vesta and Leander, how much time they're in the water when the blades are covered, it's just a little bit more, and that just builds up over 2K, doesn't it?
Yeah. Centimetre by centimetre. Wow, what a shot they are. Look at right back to the start. That's how far they've gone. The umpires launch in the centre. This is one of the great Henley scenes, isn't it? Halfway down the course, the umpires launch. Leander on the left, Vesta on the right. Two great English clubs at this regatta. Wow.
Yeah, it looks great, doesn't it? But like you said, looking at the flags down there, it's a brutal place to be. And even on the water, you can see the lines and the shimmering and the waves. But the water is so poppy. These booms are supposed to mediate some of that, but really, it's not really happening today, is it?
Yeah, difficult conditions for the rowers. You see the crews crossing, I think, to go out for the tea interval. And let's take a look at Leander. We haven't had a close look at them. Well, there they are now. Helen Kirkpatrick, the 24-year-old, she's closest to us in the bows. Grace Denning-Smitherman in the 2C. Eleanor Bierkoff. Alice Ives at 4 with the bunchy. Megan Halpin with the platinum hair. Then the redhead Laura McKenzie. Abigail Bird at 7. Frances Hunt-Davis at stroke. And George Farthing, the Cox of this crew, the 21-year-old.
Yeah, and you can see here, it looks like you said, it looks like a November day, doesn't it, when out there racing. And Vesta here now it's starting to look like it's really hard work for them to do this. Maybe they're paying the price now for such a hard race yesterday, and the blade work and the cohesion's still there, but they just haven't got the punch and the power that the other crew has.
Felicity Carroll, the 26-year-old Cox, is still continuing to urge her crew on. It's best to go out, but Leander, you can see the margin there. The time, that's very slow. You can see in the background that time, which is falling, is sort of halfway-ish. 3:41, that's a very slow time, unsurprisingly, in these headwind conditions.
I think 40 is literally 1/8 length more beyond halfway, isn't it? Yeah, no, it's a very slow time. It's not surprising. And here you can see how physical it needs to be. I mean, they're looking very smooth here, but they're in the water for a long time, battling against this wind. And it's one of those things, isn't it, a headwind? You just need to be confident to spend that time in the water, no matter how long it takes, because if you don't, it just eats you up.
So there we see Georgia Heller, Tim. Great to have a shot of the Vesta crew. Kate Griffiths, Kathleen Kickham, Hetty Palmer in the 4 seats. Charlotte Orwell at 5 with those shades on. Lydia Cronin, Francesca Ludlow, Rebecca Kelly. And we've talked about Felicity the Cox already, haven't we? So those women are battling to stay in this race. But Leander, they're not quite in cruise control, are they, Adrian? But they're not far off it.
No, it looks pretty close, doesn't it? But in that headwind, you don't want it to get heavy. That's just would be the worst thing you could do for yourself right now. And they still have a couple of minutes to go. They're only just coming into the general enclosure just now. So it's really not over yet. And you can see that George Farthing's steering the boat a little bit. The 8s have been struggling to keep a straight line.
It's a big steer, isn't it?
It
is. He seemed to like put the rudder on, or did the boat just swerve due to the conditions there?
Well, that's what I was wondering, because there's been a lot of the pairs. It's obvious what happens, but even look at that splash on the deck there. I think it's hard for them to keep the boats going straight, even the 8s.
How big? Just tell people how big the rudder is that Cox uses.
It's probably half the size of a credit card. There's a fin which is a bit bigger, which is probably 3/4 the size of a piece of A4, but the rudder is literally half the size of a credit card. So it doesn't make much difference.
And you can have things that track how often the Cox uses the rudder and how they can improve their whole steering, because obviously every time you put the rudder on, it's a brake.
Yeah, exactly. And what people normally think is it doesn't turn like a car. This is why it's dangerous here at Henley, because if you think of the 3-seat and an 8, when you put the rudder on, everything behind the 3 seats skids out and everything else goes forward. So actually, if you're close to the booms, you put the rudder on hard, the back of the boat's going to skid into the booms and can make things worse. So it's not an easy thing to do.
Vesta still going hard there. You could see from that shot. I can see Leander just coming up now to the progress board, which is around about 10 strokes to go. There they go past the progress board. We're not quite. There's the finish camera. Leander now really in cruise control. And this is their Club 8. It's not their top women's crew. We'll see them later on this afternoon in the Remenham, the GB Internationals. But Leander take that race from Vesta's top crew, their A crew. Their regatta is done, but they have really given such credit to Vesta Rowing Club by their performances here. So Leander Club beat Vesta Club A in the Wargrave Challenge Cup.